we're joined by the distinguished musician and investor Hugh Anthony Craig III, also known as Huey Lewis. Where did Lewis come from, by the way? Because your name is Craig.
Well, my first girlfriend's dad called me Huey Louie, then Lewis. And when I was in England in the early 70s, I did a lot of sessions, but I couldn't get a green card, so I had to change my name.
Okay. Where does Plan B come from? 7 years of work? 2 years of work?
Pretty much 6 years, yeah, or so. I mean, you know, we did it on our own dime, and that was neat. It was liberating in a way in that the first record we ever made without having somebody look over your shoulder, a record company look over your shoulder, and you know, all the other records, we know they're going to get played on the radio. This thing, we didn't even know it was going to be released. So creatively, we were able to do what we wanted to do.
You know, obviously you don't have to worry financially about the success of this effort. Nonetheless, you know, you talk about it getting played on the radio, which raises an interesting question about the music business today. Because in the old days, it was good and bad. It was more monolithic, which was both good and bad. The fragmentation that you see now,
right.
The incredible number of different formats. You open up Billboard now,
right.
and there must be 20 different charts instead of the Hot 100 country jazz.
Exactly.
Does that make it tougher?
It makes it different. It's a shame, really. You know, old CHR, Contemporary Hit Radio, played the top 20 hits.
Right.
So we're all competing for the same market. But so you want to hear a Hall & Oates tune, you have to listen to the OJs, which was great for everybody because you hear it blends the musical styles. Now, very segregated and you know, different.
If you were starting out today, would that make it harder to get where you wanted to go?
I think so. I think I'd go to business school.
Huey Lewis in the businesses. So Huey, you don't. Mark said you don't need to make any more money, but this tour seems to coincide with this market. You sure? How much VA Linux did you actually have?
That's good. Yeah. Too much.
Yeah.
Any amount was too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we're actually excited about this record. We've worked on it for 6 years. We did it our own way. We're a real band, and we recorded it kind of very old-fashioned. We just captured the performances in the studio.
You see that rock's back already. I mean, maybe not necessarily Huey Lewis rock, but I mean Stain and some of these other groups.
Is there any other
boy
kind?
bands? Yeah, well, that's right.
No, rock is rock. I mean, and in fact, we were talking briefly about that before during the commercial break. What's changed? I mean, rock used to be dominant from the late 50s, really to say the late 80s. That was it. Right. Everyone else was kind of on the margin. Right. Now the margin seems to be, what's changed?
Well, you know, TV's made a huge difference. It used to be completely audio. Now it's obviously more of a visual. I mean, music was the domain of blind artists, for example. And now how do they make the video? So TV's changed it, and technology. Now you have drum machines and synthesizer programming. You can do it multi-track recording. You don't even go to tape anymore, you know, ADATs, and you can as many tracks as you want, and you layer everything piece by piece. Nobody captures those performances anymore like the old record.
Okay, so video-wise, is Plan B going to be accompanied by a Tybo workout?
It is.
Because that's what most of these videos look like to an old guy like me. I mean, with all due respect to NSYNC, who I believe are very good singers.
They are.
I mean, you can hear their voices, they're good singers. The dances look like they borrowed them from Jane Fonda and a workout video. So do you go that route?
Absolutely. If somebody else pays for it, I go that route every time.
You have a double to do some of those moves? Or?
No, I don't know. We're just agonizing over that now because you need a video presence.
Yeah.
And we've always had our tongue firmly in cheek when we do our videos. And we'll probably do another one like that. Yeah, but I think they tell you that these things are just clips for the song, and you want to have as many good-looking people as you can.
Well, that is a challenge.
We're unavailable here on Squawk. Huey, don't you think, though, really, I mean, there hasn't been an album like, or a sound like this in a while. You have no competitors right now, it seems like, which is good when you go into business, right?
I like that. I mean, I think that's true. We're zigging, you know, our stuff has always been old-fashioned, I think. And now we've kind of reversed even further, and now we're old enough to wear it. So it feels good.
Well, and it's like a movie, no matter how great the special effects get, there's still got to be a story, right? I mean, so no matter what they do with music, if you got a catchy tune, you could have a couple of big singles off of this album. That Plan B, I like. I
like the way you think.
You like the way it
is?
I like the way you think.
What is not to be?
We like you, Joe.
Not to be a crass businessman, but what is a big single? How would you judge what sort of benchmark would you set up and say, hey, you know, this was successful commercially, regardless of whether you enjoyed doing it and that's all that was in it for you?
What do you mean? What kind of sales am I looking forward for?
Going forward.
Going forward.
What's the value band?
What sort of guidance will you give the music analysts?
Listenability is up 90% on this thing. So, I don't know. I mean, really and truly, fortunately, the challenges for us are creative. Not that we couldn't use some success, but the challenges are creative. And I just hope this finds the right audience. I don't, the quality of audience is important to me, as opposed to the quantity. That sounds like a lot of bull, but it's true.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think in this
rich people? What?
No, I think in this discerning people. In this country, we're seen as somewhat of a pop band because we've had a lot of hits. But we're not a pop band. We're a real rock and roll band.
That's how we explain our low ratings at CNBC. The people that are watching are the best people, the best demos. You know what I mean? We do it the same way.
And we're definitely not pop. We're rock and roll on this show. While we're talking about the business and how it's changed, what did you think of Napster and the whole controversy surrounding?
Well, obviously it's a fabulous idea, an idea that was coming, and it's interesting that the major record labels couldn't get together and figure out how to deal with this thing early. They should have seen it coming and got together, made a deal, bing. But it's so individualistic, this business. You can still kind of come from nowhere and make a record and boom, be everything all at once. And the record companies are very independent that way, and they simply couldn't get their act together to deal with this thing, and now it's, the chickens have come home to roost. Now that Napster's gone, there's 4 or 5 other file sharers that are nowhere. They don't have buildings. So it's going to get more complicated.
Is the digital delivery of music in a commercial way, not the semi-pirate way,
Right.
Is it doable? When you think about it, I mean, somebody has written a song and they deserve something. Mm-hmm. Someone has performed the song, they deserve mm-hmm. something. Someone else has published the song, they deserve something. Someone else has put it out in CD form. There's a publisher and there's a record
right.
company. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of disparate interests have to come together here before this is going to work.
That shouldn't be no problem. I mean, that really should be easy. They should see this thing coming. There's no reason you can't download music. You ought to have to pay a little something for it. You ought to distribute that accordingly. I mean, there's lots of people whose jobs it is to figure that out. I mean, that's where it's going. The rest is what? Communism. I mean, they don't make any distinction between another record. So we know that it has to be intellectual property is worth something. Just don't know how to do that yet. And it's going to be figured out, I think. It has to in a capitalist society, but how? And those are the problems,
Huey, we talked off camera. I've only given one tip to anyone in my life, and that was our buddy Brad Gilbert. Have you tried that?
No longer a buddy, too.
Yeah.
Thanks to the tip.
Yeah. No. Listen to the tip.
No, this is a very good tip, actually, because Brad told me that Joe said, "Well, you know what? I don't have tips. I don't give tips." So he said, "No, come on, give me a tip." And Joe told him, "When you feel like buying, sell, and when you feel like selling, buy." And he says, "Do you believe that? What's that?" And then he's showing me he's online. He says, "Look, I'm up 3 times my money there."
Buy more.
I said, "What do you feel like doing?" "I wish I had a bunch of it. I feel like buying it." I said,
"Yeah, not only sell what you have, sell it twice, and then you'll be short, and then you'll be sure to make some serious money."
This is your concise investment philosophy.
Do the opposite of what you feel like doing, right, Mario?
I'm going to start singing.
"I like it."
So now you go on tour, right?
Yep.
You're on tour now, aren't you?
We are. Actually, our first gig is tomorrow night.
So it just started?
Yeah.
And it's a Plan B tour?
Plan B, so our record comes out Tuesday in the shops. Kathleen's going to buy the first copy.
No doubt.
She already told me.
And Joe's going to wait for you to send him a free one.
I got a free one already.
There you go. And he'd like a CD player to go along with it.
And you heard all that junk I said about Joe, just so he'll invite me to his golf club. I'm trying to get on Baltusrol.
You're welcome.
That's how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You trade Baltusrol for...
Baltusrol for, yeah. Exactly.
How much of a role does a tour play in the financial life of a performer?
Well, early on, not much, because you're just promoting yourself and trying to, exposure and so on. But when you get, after you're exposed, it's everything. I mean, that's how we make our money, is playing live. I mean, the Rolling Stones, I mean, how many records did they sell? 1 million records? But they make as much money from one concert as they do from their whole record. So
Really?
it's all about live performing. I'm making that up, but it's close. It's close. Maybe even more. It's real close.
Okay. Okay. I always thought it was the other way. I thought that was a loss leader to get the sales, but
Records and so on are a way to, you know, if you have a record, you're hot. While you're hot, get big. So
get
that
out on the
when you're
road.
not hot anymore, you're still big.
It's hip to be square too, and that I live by that.
all right. Huey Lewis, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoyed it. Very, very informative. Commercial break. Opening bell's coming up in 2.5 minutes. We got to get back to business here.